If someone only wants attention, they chase intensity. If someone wants validation, they chase reactions. But if someone wants your love and does not want to lose you, they chase emotional safety, even if it means slowing themselves down, holding back their words, and waiting longer than their feelings would like. Psychology tells us that this kind of love is not loud, but it is deep, not dramatic, but it is stable, and not desperate, but it is sincere. And when you know what to look for, these 11 signs quietly reveal themselves. Not all at once, but over time, through consistency, restraint, and care. Sign 1, they move slowly because losing you feels too costly. In love psychology, speed often reflects intention, and when someone truly wants your love, their pace changes, not because they are unsure, but because they are aware of what is at stake. Someone who wants something temporary rushes because urgency serves desire. But someone who wants something meaningful slows down because awareness creates caution. They think before making emotional advances, they watch how you respond before moving closer, and they take time to understand your comfort, your past, and your emotional boundaries, because they know that once a person feels emotionally overwhelmed, the door begins to close. This slowness is not hesitation, and it is not lack of confidence. It is emotional intelligence, because deep down they understand that pushing too hard, speaking too soon, or demanding clarity before trust is built could cost them something they are not ready to lose. Psychologically, this behavior comes from loss-avoidant attachment, where the fear of losing you is stronger than the urge to rush gratification, and that fear quietly teaches them patience, restraint, and respect. Sign 2, they listen with presence, not with intent to impress. When someone wants to be seen, they talk, but when someone wants to understand you, they listen. And psychology shows us that listening is one of the strongest indicators of emotional investment. You may notice that this person remembers small details you mentioned casually, recalls emotions you felt during specific moments, and senses changes in your mood even when you try to hide them. Because their attention is not superficial, it is emotionally focused. They are not listening to respond quickly or to appear interesting. They are listening to reduce the risk of misunderstanding you, because misunderstanding feels dangerous when someone matters deeply. Your words stay with them longer, your silences concern them more, and your emotional shifts register in their body, because emotional attachment creates emotional attunement. Love psychology explains that when someone fears losing you, their nervous system becomes alert to your emotional state, because your comfort feels connected to their emotional security. Sign 3, they protect the connection more than their ego. One of the clearest psychological signs that someone wants your love is how they behave during moments of tension or disagreement, because conflict reveals priorities more honestly than affection does. Someone driven by ego will argue to win, but someone who fears losing you will argue carefully, choosing words that protect the bond instead of damaging it. You may notice them pausing mid-sentence, softening their tone, or stepping back from harsh language, not because they lack opinions, but because they are thinking about the long-term impact of what they say. They understand that trust is easier to damage than to rebuild, and once emotional safety is broken, love begins to retreat. Psychology calls this connection-preserving behavior, where the priority is not dominance, but continuity, because to them, staying emotionally close to you matters more than being right. Sign 4, they offer consistency instead of intensity. Intensity can feel intoxicating, but psychology reminds us that intensity often reflects emotional volatility rather than emotional stability. Someone who wants your love and fears losing you does not rely on dramatic gestures or emotional highs. Instead, they show up consistently, even when there is nothing exciting happening. They remain present during ordinary days. They check in without needing a reason, and they do not disappear once the emotional energy settles, because their attachment is not fueled by excitement. It is supported by intention. Consistency requires effort, self-regulation, and emotional maturity, and love psychology shows that people who invest consistently are thinking long-term, because they are not chasing a feeling, they are building trust, and trust is what keeps love alive when novelty fades. Sign 5, they give you space without making you feel guilty. One of the strongest signs that someone does not want to lose you is how they handle your need for space, because insecure attachment tries to control closeness, while secure attachment respects it. When you need time, distance, or emotional room, they do not punish you with silence, withdraw affection, or create anxiety to pull you back. Instead, they trust that space does not mean rejection. And love psychology explains that this comes from emotional regulation, where a person can tolerate temporary distance without panicking about abandonment. They would rather give you room to breathe than suffocate the connection, because they understand that forced closeness creates resentment, and resentment slowly erodes affection. Sign 6. They become gentler when you are emotionally vulnerable. When life becomes heavy for you, someone who truly wants your love does not make your pain about themselves. They adjust their expectations, soften their demands, and show patience instead of pressure. They listen without rushing solutions. They support without controlling outcomes. And they remain present even when your emotional energy is low. Psychology shows that empathy deepens when emotional attachment is real, and your struggles begin to feel personal to them, not inconvenient. They understand that love is not proven during easy moments, but during emotionally difficult ones. And pushing you when you are vulnerable feels too risky, because losing your trust would hurt more than waiting. Sign 7. They show care through reliability, not promises. People who fear losing you understand that words are easy to say, but difficult to sustain. So instead of making grand promises, they focus on being reliable. They follow through on what they say, they keep their commitments, and they remain emotionally available when it would be easier to disappear, because reliability creates safety, and safety creates attachment. Love psychology calls this investment behavior, where emotional effort is placed into consistency rather than performance, because they want to become someone you trust, not just someone you feel excited about. In their mind, being dependable matters more than being impressive, because excitement fades, but reliability builds memory. Sign 8. They become more self-aware around you. Being around you triggers reflection in them, because emotional attachment often activates self-awareness. They notice their reactions more, regulate their emotions better, and try to communicate instead of shutting down. Not because you demanded change, but because losing you feels more uncomfortable than self-growth. Psychology explains this as adaptive emotional growth, where behavior changes naturally in response to emotional investment. They want to become safer for you, because emotional safety keeps connection alive, and connection is what they are trying to protect. Sign 9. They let actions speak before confessions. They may not rush into dramatic declarations or emotional labels, but their care is visible through behavior, consistency, and restraint. They respect your pace, protect your dignity, and remain mindful of how their actions affect you, because psychology shows that premature confessions can create pressure rather than closeness. They allow trust to build organically, because forced emotions often collapse under their own weight, and they would rather grow love slowly than risk losing it by rushing words they cannot yet sustain. Sign 10. They fear damaging the connection more than rejection. Rejection hurts, but emotional damage lasts longer, and someone who truly wants your love understands this difference. They are more afraid of saying or doing something that permanently alters the connection than they are of hearing no. So they choose caution over ego, patience over pressure, and respect over risk, because psychology tells us that once emotional safety is broken, even love struggles to survive. Their fear is not rejection, it is loss, and that fear keeps them emotionally careful. Sign 11. They care about your inner peace, even if it costs them access. The deepest sign of all is when someone prioritizes your emotional peace over their desire for closeness. They want you calm, grounded, and emotionally safe, even if that means less access to you, because love psychology shows that mature attachment is rooted in care, not consumption. They are not trying to take from you, they are trying not to harm you. And when someone loves in a way that protects your inner peace, they are not afraid of love. They are afraid of losing something sacred. Not every person who loves you will express it perfectly, and not every person who wants you will chase loudly, because sometimes the deepest love moves quietly, choosing patience over pressure, consistency over intensity, and respect over control. If someone is trying to earn your love instead of forcing it, if they are protecting the emotional connection instead of testing it, and if they fear losing you more than losing their pride, psychology tells us that this is not weakness. This is emotional maturity. Real love does not try to own you. It tries to keep you safe while standing close enough to matter.